In this module, we will talk about the internship application email. While a number of top law firms, NGOs and corporates have specific application forms on their websites, almost 50% of them still receive internship applications by email as well. So a relevant question to ask here would be, how important is the internship application email? The answer is, it is very, very, very important. Think about it. If you send your application via email, this will be your first interaction with the law firm. This will be your first interaction with the person who will do the initial screening of all applications. The email is essentially the first opportunity to create an impression about yourself. Unless the firm has asked for a cover letter to be included, the email is probably your de facto cover letter as well. If you recall, we discussed about the 7-second rule, where the recruiter, the HR or the senior is going to spend just about 7 seconds on every application in the first pass. The first opinion or the decision on whether to consider the candidate for further evaluation often happens within those 7 seconds. Now, if the first interaction with the candidate is the email and the email is badly drafted, has errors or looks unprofessional, the application will get dumped right away. Even if you have attached a wonderful resume or a great cover letter, the recruiter does not even get there. So to again answer the question that we asked ourselves earlier, is the email important? Yes, absolutely yes. Some top firms do mention that your cover letter should be the body of the application email. This is a very clear indicator that the firm is probably going to do the first level of screening at an email level itself, without even opening the candidate's resume. The best way to understand how to draft an application email is to first look at all the what not to do's. These are the reasons why internship applications get rejected at an email level itself. All these examples that we will discuss here are real applications, with the identity of the applicant blanked out for privacy. This one is something that almost all law firms and recruiters absolutely hate. This candidate has just emailed his application to a list of more than 200 law firms, NGOs and companies. None of the recruiters that I know would have even bothered to respond to this person. When a candidate sends a bulk email addressed to several law firms, the recruiters may feel that there is no point in offering internship to this candidate, because if another firm on the list offers an opportunity at the same time, the candidate may just join the other firm. So why waste an opportunity? The ground rule here is, do not send out bulk emails as far as internship applications are concerned. It does not take more than 5 or 10 minutes to personalize your email for each firm. Take that extra time and it will improve your chances of getting shortlisted. Continuing a little further on the no mass mailing rule, this candidate has sent a mass email to several firms, or he has just copy pasted the same content without any changes and sent emails to several firms. Gmail thinks that this is a spam email and has put it directly in the spam folder. Unless the recruiter in the law firm is specifically looking into the spam folders, they might not even see this application. This is another reason why I say that you should avoid sending out mass emails. This applicant has taken the time to personalize her email application, but she is not paying attention to who she is sending it out to. This application was sent to us at Lawment, but the candidate intended to send it to Singhania and Partners in Hyderabad. This is an oversight that is pretty much a recipe for rejection. Do a sense check. Are you sending your email to the right firm, to the right person? Continuing with the same email, this candidate has also made some contextual mistakes, which would not get highlighted in a normal spell check. Cooperate is a correct spelling by itself, but it is contextually incorrect since the candidate wanted to write corporate, as in corporate and commercial law. This is an example where a sense check would come in handy. Read the entire email and see if it makes sense, because spelling mistakes and contextual errors can be a cause for rejection at an email level. This candidate wanted to send an internship application to one of the top law firms, Kocher & Co. But this again is a case of not paying attention, and the email has been sent to Lawment. While this is an outright reject, the email also caught my attention because of the usage of a relatively less used term, highbrow. The candidate wants to highbrow his legal knowledge. And when you look up in the dictionary, highbrow is a person who possesses or has pretensions to superior learning or culture. So what is the candidate trying to say? That he wants to pretend that he is learning something at the internship? Obviously, the candidate has used a word or a phrase that he thought sounds impressive. Instead, it is apparent that he has not bothered to check what the word actually means. I have seen many applications where the candidate has used very flowery language. This is very risky because the recruiter may not understand the phrases or may feel that the candidate is just showing off, or that the candidate has just copied the email content from somewhere else. The learning here is, do not use vague terms or phrases to impress the recruiter. Be natural, use normal language, and do a sense check before you send the email. The subject line for this email says, "Apply for internship." It sounds as if the candidate is asking the recruiter to apply for an internship. Shouldn't it say, "Applying for internship"? Even before a mail is opened, the first thing we look at is the subject line of the emails in our inbox. So pay attention and use appropriate words. Also, on most systems, be it Gmail or Outlook, you can see only the first 6 or 7 words of the subject line and the rest gets hidden. Therefore, keep the subject line within this limit, keep it short and keep it simple. Several firms that accept internship applications by email would also have specified a format for the subject line, such as instructions to mention internship application, followed by the preferred dates and then the preferred location. Read the firm's application instructions carefully and follow them. In some cases, firms may have used filters to redirect emails to specific persons who handle internships. Not following the prescribed format in the subject line may mean that your application does not even reach the right person. While this applicant has kept the email body short and to the point, it would be highly recommended to follow the normal email etiquette. Since you are not sending a casual message to a friend, your application is a formal professional business communication. Ensure that you use appropriate salutation, sir or madam. Use full sentences in the body of the email and end it with a regards or a thanking you or a thanks and regards, and don't forget to include your name, your email and your phone number in the signature. As with the subject line, many firms may specify what should be included in the body of the email, such as email body should clearly mention the preferred dates, location and areas of interest. Read the instructions and follow them. Else, it creates a negative impression that the candidate has not even bothered to read the application process or is incapable of following simple instructions. This candidate would have sent her application to several firms and many of them would not even have received the email. Why? When I saw the attachments to this email, they added up to around 12 MB. The resume itself was around 2 MB due to some heavy graphics and compression issues. The other document has a cover letter and scans of all her marks cards, making it almost 10 MB. In many firms which use their own email servers, there is a 5 MB limit on the size of the emails that can be received. Anything larger than 5 MB will get bounced back to the sender with an error message or may just get stuck somewhere. Gmail is quite generous and has a 25 MB sending limit and a 50 MB receiving limit. However, sending a 25 MB email is certainly a bad idea. In general, 5 MB is the maximum upper limit for the email plus all the attachments. And 1 MB is a good upper limit for each separate document. If you are sending a resume and a cover letter, that will be 2 documents and the combined file size should not exceed 2 or 2.5 MB. Continuing on the subject of subject lines, I remember a casual remark from a very senior legal professional that today's generation does not know what subject lines are used for. This may be true to a large extent because if most of our communication happens through instant messengers like WhatsApp and Telegram, we don't tend to deal with subject lines too much and getting directly to the message becomes a habit. But when it comes to formal emails, a subject line is mandatory. Make it a habit to use the subject line to provide a context to your email. This is an extreme example of how not to use the subject line, because here the candidate has typed the entire mail into the subject line and the mail body itself is blank. This is an indicator that the applicant does not understand the various parts of an email. If we take her on board, we will have to start with the basics of business communication and the basics of emails. So this profile would be dropped by most tier 1, 2 or 3 firms. And this is an application with a meaningless subject line. It seems to say that we should forward the email to a Mr. Rishabh. And we do not have anyone named Rishabh working with us. And moreover, Since there is no text and no details in the email, it is not clear what this email is for. Is it for an internship, or is it for a job application, or for any other purpose? So when the subject line says, please do the needful, what does it mean? Only because I opened the attached resume and I could see that the sender is a current student from a prestigious law college, I could make out that this is probably an internship application. The lesson in this email is, be clear as to what you want. Don't make it a guessing game for the recruiter. The other lesson from this email is that you should never forward an application that has been sent to another law firm. This is almost as bad as a bulk email. Why do you want the recruiter to know which other firms you have applied to? Even if you are forwarding an email to save time, remove the text and indicators in the mail body and the forward in the subject line, which show that this is a forward. And remember, take a couple of minutes to personalize the email specifically for the firm that you are sending it to. And one last point before we move on to the next example. Always personalize your attachments. Make sure that the file name includes your name. Rather than naming it as latest CV, it would be better to name it as Sanjay CV. When the recruiter downloads a resume into a folder, he should be able to locate it easily later on. If there are a bunch of resumes from different candidates, all without their name in the file name, when it is time to confirm an intern, the recruiter may not want to open every unidentified file and try to find the candidate. He may just go ahead with the one which is the easiest to locate. So, the file name of your resume, your cover letter, and any other document that you send should include your name. In this example, again we look at the subject line to start with. While the candidate has mentioned internship, the use of proper capitalization would have been better. Also, just the word internship does not convey the complete intention of the email. Are you applying for internship? Are you inviting someone to apply? You want to advertise your internship somewhere? What is it? A complete sentence stating application for internship would have been more advisable. Formatting the email properly would make it look more serious and professional. In this email, there is a mix of left, right, and center alignment, which could have happened because the candidate has copy-pasted the text from somewhere else. Whenever you copy-paste, use the paste as text option to ensure that the original formatting from the source document is not carried on into the email. Coming to the attachments, there are two issues here. The first is that the documents do not have the applicant's name, which we have already discussed in a previous example. The second is that the candidate seems to have zipped the document and the .zip extension got deleted. So there is a file named resume with no extension, and without an extension, the file cannot be opened normally. The learnings here are, as far as possible, do not zip your documents. If the originals are within the 1 or 2 MB limits that we discussed earlier, there is no need to zip them. Just attach them as is. Do not use obscure file formats. Use only doc or docx formats which can be created and opened with normal MS Word, or use a PDF format which can also be created through MS Word by using the Save as PDF option while saving the file. If you attach a zipped file, the recruiter will have to download it, unzip it, and then open the document. All of this requires 3 steps. If you directly attach a Word or a PDF file, the recruiter can just click on it and open it in the browser itself. This requires just one step. So try and minimize the recruiter's effort. Also, when you attach a document to an email, before hitting send, click and check that you are actually able to download and open the document. Another small point, do not make it obvious that the documents are not updated. If you look at the cover letter in this email, it says 2020 and the application was sent in 2021, which makes it obvious that the candidate has been sending the same cover letter without any changes from 2020 onwards. If the file name includes a date or a year for any reason, make sure that you update it before you attach and send it. One very important point to add here is that some of the firms give very clear instructions, like you should upload the documents in Word doc, docx, or PDF format. They might specify that the documents should be in a single file, or you can upload them as separate files. They might also mention that the file size can be up to 2 MB or up to 5 MB. As we discussed in the internship research module, when you go to the websites of your shortlisted firms, you should also look at their internship process, about the when and the how to apply. The instructions on the file sizes and the formats may be mentioned in the application process. If nothing is mentioned, just stick to the basic rules. The total size of the email should not be more than 5 MB, including all attachments. And each document individually should not be more than 2 MB. Stick to doc, docx or PDF formats and do not zip them. Moving on to the next example, the application is decently written, subject line looks good, attachments are good, but the applicant is displaying a complete lack of awareness about the firm. And we have already discussed this in a previous example. This email was sent to Lament, and we are not an NGO, but the candidate is clearly stating that he wants to intern with an NGO. And since there is no personalization by mentioning the name of the NGO or the firm, this looks like an email that has been sent to several organizations, and Lament's email happens to be on the list. So this is clearly a misdirected missile. This is a decent application. Almost all the best practices have been followed, and no major comments except for the fact that the candidate has mentioned that he is intrigued by our website. And since this is not a word that would normally be used to describe lament.com, if we interviewed this candidate, we would definitely ask him to explain what exactly did he find intriguing about our website. There is, however, one missed opportunity. The applicant is interested in interning with us as a content writer, which is relevant for us. But he could have included some links to his articles or papers in the email itself, so that we could just click and check on the quality of his work. To be fair, he has given the links in his resume, but there was an opportunity to mention them in the email itself. The lesson here is that if there are any relevant examples of your work available online, include the links in the email itself. The earlier you get the recruiter interested in your profile, the better your chances of getting shortlisted. As we have discussed earlier in this and also in another module, the top firms may receive tens of internship applications every day. It may be logistically very difficult to respond or even acknowledge all of them. Many firms clearly mention that they will revert only to shortlisted or selected candidates, and that they do not entertain any follow-ups or may not be able to provide any updates or feedback. These instructions are quite straightforward, and not following them shows that the applicant is either not paying attention or is not capable of following even simple guidelines. This example is an extreme case. The candidate actually sent us 4 emails within a gap of a few hours within the same day. No, it was not accidental, since each of these emails was sent after a gap of a few hours, but all of them were sent during the same day. Even if the candidate's profile was going to be shortlisted for internship, this repeated reminders have ensured that the profile has been rejected outright. You can send a reminder or a chaser to the firm a few days after you have sent your application, and only if the firm has not indicated otherwise. The learning here is that if the firm says no chasers, it means no chasers. If nothing is mentioned and you wish to send a follow-up email, do it at least 4 or 5 days after your original email, and do not send more than one chaser. While I'm a strong advocate of keeping your applications short and sweet, this one is a little too short. The candidate has not entered any text in the mail body, and there are no attachments either. A simple lesson from this example is that blank calls and blank emails are not helpful, especially when it comes to internship applications. Before you send out any email, do a quick check to ensure that the basic requirements are taken care of. Now that you have seen quite a few examples of what not to do, pause this video here for 1 minute and try to identify the basic mistakes or misses in this application email, and let us see how many of them you can catch. So go ahead and hit the pause button now. The first one is that the subject line is not complete. Application for job in legal is not a complete sentence. Is it legal field, legal department, legal education, legal what? The learning here is that you should pay attention to your language. Keep it simple, but keep it complete. The second mistake is that the email is not personalized. The applicant has mentioned your company twice. It would have been highly preferable to mention the name of the firm. Otherwise, this is an impersonal email, most probably a mass email sent to several firms. So remember to keep it personal. Show that you purposely applied to the particular firm. Third mistake, we can see a contextual error. the spelling of the word filed is correct, so it will not get underlined in a spelling check. But the applicant actually wanted to say field, so a sense check would have worked here, because there is no such thing as working or exploring in a legal filed. Let us try one more example for quick practice. Pause the video here for 1 minute and identify at least 6 improvement opportunities in this application email. Go ahead and hit the pause button now. Here, the candidate says that he feels Remfry and Sagar will be the right place for him. He could have mentioned at least one reason why. Otherwise, it looks like he has written the same thing in all the other applications as well. Samvad Partners is the right place for me, AZB is the right place for me, Basin & Co is the right place for me. Give some rationale or substantiation for any key statement. The candidate says that he will shine high in IPR by working at this firm. What is the meaning of shining high? There is no meaning. Shining bright makes sense, not shining high. The candidate has attempted to use a phrase that sounds sophisticated, which was not necessary. And even if you are tempted to use a word or a phrase that is not used in your everyday conversation, search for it on Google and check the meaning first. Look forward to hear my you. Doesn't make sense. The candidate probably wanted to write looking forward to hearing from you. This is an indicator that the candidate is not paying attention to a simple email. Can this candidate be trusted to draft complex legal documents? This is another case of a contextual error that could have been caught with a simple sense check. In fact, this candidate has used a Gmail ID to send his email, and Gmail already has a built-in check that highlights and offers alternative suggestions for possible grammatical or contextual errors. If you right-click on the text underlined in blue, it shows the suggested alternatives. So this mistake could have been avoided. The candidate has used am in 3 places. Am and I am are not interchangeable. Perhaps the candidate wanted to write I''m, which is an abbreviated way of writing I am. Finally, the candidate has signed off just with a thanks. When it comes to professional communication, include your name, your email ID, and your phone number in the signature. Now that you have a good understanding of what not to do, let us move to the next part and look at a simple list of what to do, or the basic best practices to be followed in all internship application emails. Keep your communication as clear as possible, starting with the subject line. If a specific format has been mentioned by the firm, follow that. Else, mention that you are applying for an internship opportunity and whether it is for an offline or an online internship. While you can enter the specific dates or mention a specific duration, given the high degree of competition for internships with the top firms, it is preferable to be flexible. And unless you have a compelling reason for specific dates and period, just mention in the body of the email that you are flexible. This does improve your chances to a certain extent. Next, mention the context and reasons behind why you are applying to that specific firm. It shows that you have done your research and you are not just shooting wildly hoping to hit something. You have actually applied to them deliberately. This candidate clearly mentions why she has applied to Lawment and what are the specific activities that she is interested in. So it shows that she is a serious applicant. Relevant information and links to the articles she has written previously are included in the email itself. So we could just click and check the quality of our work. Overall, the email is properly structured. It is not too long. It is around the ideal length of around 100 to 150 words. It is nicely broken up into paragraphs and sections, so it is easy to read. During your research, you would have seen if a firm that you are applying to has specified a format for the subject line and the body of the email. I would highly recommend that before you send out any application, check the firm's website and reconfirm if they have updated the instructions. They might have mentioned that you need to use the email itself as a cover letter, which means that you don't need to send a cover letter separately. They might have asked you to mention your requested dates of internship or other such details. Ensure that you follow all the instructions, else this could be a cause for rejection. Before we move on to the activities for this module, let me talk about the 3 basic checks. These 3 checks should be done for your email, your resume, your cover letter, and any other document or communication that is part of your internship application. I will continue to mention these 3 checks in other modules also, since these are extremely important. The first one is a spelling check, which is quite straightforward. When you create or open a document in MS Word, or even when you are typing it onto an online form, incorrect spellings are automatically underlined in red. If the auto spell check is not working, run a manual spell check on your mail and all other documents before you send them out. Incorrect spellings are a big indicator that the candidate is not paying attention to his or her own documents. Next is a grammar check. These days, Gmail automatically suggests grammar corrections as well, and MS Word has a grammar check option built in. While these automated grammar checks and suggestions are not 100% accurate, they are still very useful in cleaning up your writing. Finally, there is a sense check. Like we saw in several examples in this module, the spelling might be correct, but the context might be incorrect. For example, if you write legal filed instead of legal field, the spelling check and the grammar check options will not catch this error. It is only when you read the document manually you can identify the error. So do a sense check. Also, if you have used any unique, obscure or uncommon words or phrases which you would otherwise not use in your day-to-day conversations, double check their meanings and how they are used. The first activity for this module is to watch a couple of videos on YouTube. The first video is about English punctuations. Since the legal profession involves a lot of proofreading, writing and editing plenty of documents, a refresher on punctuation is always helpful. And I found this video to be quite comprehensive and easy to understand. The second link is for a YouTube channel called Oxford Online English, which has videos on spoken English, including pronunciation, grammar and vocabulary. Whenever you have free time, watch one video every day from their playlists. Coming to the second activity, in one of the previous modules, you have already created a short list of your favorite areas of practice. Jot down your 5 choices on a paper, open MS Word and draft a standard application email using the best practices and the guidelines you have learnt in this module. Next, identify the parts of the email that are constant and applicable to any of the 5 practice areas and underline those parts which need to be customized for each area. For example, your basic details may remain constant for all applications, whereas you may want to specifically highlight your certifications in IPR if you are applying to an IPR firm, or you may want to mention your previous experience in a corporate law firm if you are applying for internship in that practice area. Next, create 5 versions of your application email, one for each of your favorite practice area by customizing the aspects that need to be changed for each. Do not use templates. Be original and draft your own email. After all, this is a short and simple document, so do not do any copy paste from anywhere. So that's it for now, and I will see you in the next module.